I'm going to introduce John Schneider. John retired from the U.S. Army and South Dakota Army National Guard after 25 years as a Chief Warrant Officer 4. He was awarded his Master Army Aviator wings and flew Apache attack helicopters, Lakota helicopters, and C-23 Serpa airplanes. He had multiple deployments to Kuwait, Iraq, and the southwest border. Prior to retiring from the service, John founded Dakota Optics and Dakota Gun Cleaners in 2017. Dakota Optics' goal is to provide high-quality optics to hunting and shooting enthusiasts. Since then, he has made his mission to make these products more easily accessible to others. Dakota Optics has expanded to promote additional American-made gun cleaning products and other firearm products. John works with veteran-owned and run companies wherever possible. Dakota Gun Cleaners specialize in ultrasonic firearms cleaning and maintenance. Dakota Optics and Dakota Gun Cleaners is based in the American heartland of South Dakota. John is committed to providing the highest quality of service to military service members and their families. He seeks to provide quality products at a fantastic price, coupled with prompt delivery and unbeatable customer service. In addition to running his businesses, he continues to serve his community. He is active in the American Legion Post 22 and the Disabled American Veterans Chapter 3, as well as serving as a city leader for Bunker Labs in Rapid City, which its official chapter launch is in February of 2020. John also takes time to speak to elementary children about the service, aviation, and the military. His hobbies include hunting, fishing, motorcycling, flying, and dog training. With that, I give you John Schneider.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Well,
When I met last week with my two coaches, Jack and Melanie, they're like, hey, a PowerPoint would be great. I vowed I'd never do PowerPoint ever again after retiring out of the service, but here we go. So this is my journey. It's hard to see here in the resolution. In the background, you'll see this huge cloud. We're on a mission over Baghdad. Got a call saying, hey, there's a dirt storm coming. I turned the aircraft, I look, I'm like, yep, there's a dirt storm coming. We landed, had time to shut down, and about 30 seconds after we took this picture, dirt came flying over. It was like that for about 3 days. So, whenever I have a bad day, or I think I'm having a bad day, I pull up some of these pictures and go, oh, yep, I'm not eating dirt today. And everything's good. All right, so here's my journey. I grew up East River, South Dakota, kind of broken home, parents split up, half on the farm every other weekend, back to the farm. Let's see if I can hide this. So I started in South Dakota. I got some nice pictures there so you guys will remember. On the right side, that's a sunrise, not a sunset on the Apache. It's about 5:30 in the morning, sun's coming up on a mission, the wingman took a picture. There's me in the lovely helmet display unit in Apache, and then this is down in Arizona, again a sunrise doing paradrop operations with some special forces guys. And then the last aircraft I flew was down here on the bottom right. That was with the South Dakota Guard. And then that's me with the kid, as a kid. So I joined the service 2 weeks after, well, the year before my senior year. My mom said, hey, when you graduate high school, you gotta go. I'm like, okay. 3 days later, I came home and said, guess what, Mom? I joined the Army. She starts crying. She's like, what do you mean you joined the Army? It's like, we said I have to go. Can I have 2 weeks after I graduate because I ship out in this state? She gave me a hug. She's like, okay. So I joined the Army to be a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout on Bradley fighting vehicles. Went through all my training in Kentucky, and then my first duty station was Texas. Left Texas, went back to Kentucky, was an instructor there. Was like, man, I'm 86 in under 5 years. I don't know how fast I'm gonna make E7. And a bunch of buddies were talking about, hey, I'm gonna go to flight school. Like, how do I do that? So I applied for flight school, got selected, went to Fort Rucker, Alabama, did all my training there. Then my next, back to Texas. Back to Fort Hood. While I was there, someone introduced me to a multi-level marketing called Amway. So I tried that for a little bit. Didn't pan out for me. Then I did 2 trips out of Fort Hood to Iraq, the initial invasion in 2003, and then back in 05-06 for a rotation there when the surge hit Iraq, and we provide air cover. Main mission was what they called CAF Safe Skies, Combat Air Patrol. And any C-17 or larger landing into Baghdad, we would clear the runways on each end with the helicopter, make sure they landed. And then we'd also respond to troops in contact or convoy escorts or a bunch of different missions. So I thought, geez, when I retire, what am I going to do? It's like, well, I can plan this deep attack of an 8-ship mission, 40 miles, 50 miles into a border, time on target. So I'm like, I'm going to use all of this, and I want to work for me when I retire. I don't want to do the 9 to 5. I want to be on John time, and if I want to go hunting tomorrow, I go hunting tomorrow, and I arrange my life. Because in the service, you realize how short your life is, and how brief your snapshot is to impact people. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to work for me. Well, then life happened. I got off active duty, joined the Texas Guard, worked for a helicopter manufacturer, and I'm still thinking, what can I do for myself? I could start a deal doing night vision goggle qualifications for companies, but I was like, man, that's risky. You know, doing full touchdown auto rotations in a helicopter at night. And you reach up to the guy and you turn off all the instrument lights, and he's like, he starts going nuts. You're like, hey, listen to the helicopter. And you know, it's full black other than these 2 40mm tubes on your eyes. And you do this auto rotation. I'm like, well, the risk there is not really worth the reward. Because it's high adventure. Especially with the guy you're teaching me only had 200 hours, and here I am several thousand hours flying helicopters, and he's starting to scream, and you're like, hey man, it's okay. And you turn the lights back on and you fix what he did. He's like, hey, how did you do that? It's like, well, you have to be one with the machine and do all this other stuff. So I'm like, flight instruction's fun, but depending on the wind, it's left traffic patterns or right traffic patterns, and you're always training for an emergency. So I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. Then I applied so the market crashed in 2008. Everyone remembers that, right? Well, where I was working, all of a sudden all these helicopters started filling up the hangar, and I was the newest flight instructor there. And I was going, this isn't good, because I know that guy put $500,000 on this helicopter, and he's not coming to get it. So I'm going, that's not going to work. Well, I had reached out to the South Dakota Army National Guard because I always wanted to come home, and they're like, oh, we don't have anything. And then out of the blue, the officer strength manager emails me and goes, hey, you should apply for this job. Okay, so I applied, got selected, and I was actually very fortunate to spend the last 11 years of my military career in South Dakota, serving South Dakotans, doing missions out of South Dakota. The only thing was flying this airplane. The bigger the airplane, the bigger the suitcase is usually the rule. I was gone. The first year in training I was gone 9.5 months. I came back, and because of the missions we did, I was gone 7.5 to 10 months. So it made life hard. Then that airplane, due to the sequestration and them not funding certain pieces, they decided to park it. Then they accelerated that. And, hey,
Sorry.
donuts. In the Army, whoever's phone rings, you know, donuts. So next week, donuts. Right?
Shots. I'll do shots.
Well,
We'll wait till January.
Okay.
I'll do shots.
peppermint. So then we parked that airplane. Since I had a bunch of helicopter time, they moved me back to helicopters. And I also did a trip to Iraq flying the lovely school bus with wings. And then we've got the new Lakota, which got trained up, went to the border right away, did 2 different trips down there, working with Border Patrol agents protecting the border. The whole time in my career, you know, the military is shoot, move, communicate. Well, guess what? Those guns get dirty. The 30mm on the Apache gets dirty. The rocket tubes get dirty. All this stuff, I'm going, oh, what can I do? What can I do? Well, then about 2017, I'm East River, getting ready to go hunting, and this thing comes on for this franchise for gun cleaning, contact us. So my former partner at the time contacted him. Hey, let's go check this out. You know, I grew up as a kid, my grandpa would go, hey, here's some 22 shells, get on the three-wheeler, go to the pasture, shoot gophers all day, when you run out of ammo, come back. Okay, Grandpa. Guns Dirty does the cycle. He'd spray it with WD-40 or Break Free or whatever farm stuff, hit it with an air compressor and go, here you go, here's 100 rounds. Don't come home till it's dark. Okay, Grandpa. Well, I don't know how many hours in 25 years I spent cleaning firearms, but the process was not great. So, former business partner and I go down there, check everything out. I'm like, wow, this could really work. So we start working the franchise piece, and all of a sudden they just kept adding and adding and adding and adding and adding. And it's like, hey, we're just going to do this mobile thing. It's going to be cool. They had a mobile deal. We don't want to open stores, and they want us to have a 5-year plan to open stores. And I'm like, told a former partner, hey, I'm not interested in doing this. I think we can do this on our own. I've already researched the tank, the cleaner, all this stuff. Well, we do that. The day before we're supposed to sign all the paperwork, he texts me, hey man, I'm not into this. Okay. At that time, lesson learned, don't fund everything. Lost some money there. A month later, guess what's sitting in the parking lot at Camp Rapid? The whole business plan, right? I'd opened an LLC, done articles of organization, done all that stuff. Here I'm out money. So, picked up, we bought a different house. I have a shop right beside my house, reduced my overhead, because I don't have $1,800 a month, and you have to clean a lot of guns to pay for everything, right? Plus, it's a new thing. Who in here knew that when they were a kid that all these car washes would be around town? Every Sunday, we got to go wash the car. Now you just get gas, you get a free car wash, you pull through. So that kind of took off on the gun cleaning side. That's how my journey to where I am there happened. The optics deal, I was tired of buying rifle scopes that wouldn't last, didn't have a warranty. Now a lot of optics have really good warranties. But who has $3,500 to spend on a rifle scope? You know, the rule of thumb on that is whatever you paid for your gun, you should double in your optic. Well, there's optics out there now that you can pay a third of what your gun is and have the same quality. So I started Dakota Optics, Dakota Gun Cleaners. Then Bunker Labs came along. Once I retired here in February, I just did the transition piece from doing something for 25 years. Kind of hit me. I wasn't connected with veterans like I was. I wasn't able to help people like I did. So I got a cold call from a guy doing a buddy check for the American Legion. Went to one of the meetings. I'm like, hey, this is a neat organization. I'm going to spend time with this. Same with the DAV. I'm going to be helping them plan their 4th annual motorcycle poker run this year. So if there's any vets out there that you know would be interested in helping, let me know. Because that's a great organization as well and does a lot for people. Bunker Labs is a new nonprofit organization that assists military veterans and spouses and entrepreneurs, helps them in starting their business. And I thought, well, all the struggles I've had, if I would have known about Bunker Labs, or Bunker Labs would have been where it is now 2.5 years ago, when I started all this, I've been like, wow, that would have helped. I wouldn't have had to change card processors 3 times. I wouldn't have to change this third-party vendor to integrate into my website that's going to launch soon, but I keep running into those struggles with, oh, they just decided to drop me. Go to run a credit card at the shop, and I'm like, that doesn't look good. So now I've got all that stuff fixed, and it also gave me some other business opportunities and ventures there that hopefully will come to fruition. But one thing the military has taught me is be resilient. And always, if you fail, just get back up and keep trying. And the best thing about it is I'm my own boss. So I don't have to call in sick. I just say, hey, I can schedule your gun cleaning for next week. Or hey, can you come over to shop tomorrow? I'm tied up with another customer. It's just how you interact with people, right? Because everything in any business is generated by what? Relationships. So when Melanie read my little bio and it talks about quality customer service, this is what I believe in doing. I sold a gentleman an optic. Everyone knows that there's manufacturing tolerances in optics, right? If you make 100,000 of this optic, they accept, say, 10%. Well, I got one of those scopes. I didn't know it was bad. He calls me and says, hey, John, scope's not working. What can you do for me? I'm like, well, it's Saturday. I can't send in for warranty until Monday. Wait, Monday's a holiday. I know you and your son want to do this long-range rifle shooting competition. How about this? Come to my shop. I'll pull the scope off of my gun. It's the same scope, has a different reticle. You can shoot your deal. I'll send it off. When it's come back, I'll remount everything. He's like, whoa, I'm like, that's the best I can do, sir. I was like, if you'd order it from anywhere else, they would have said ship it to Athlon and get it fixed. That's the best thing I can do. So he came, did that, and he's like, hey, I really like that reticle. I'm like, that's my scope. You can buy another one. So, but that built a relationship, right? Hopefully that leads into more return on my investment with that customer. But there's not a lot of people that are willing to do that. And we become a society today where everyone stares at their cell phone and no one ever talks. I did a test yesterday. I walked into Safeway and I said hi to 5 people. Do you know how many people responded? 1. And I had a conversation with this nice little lady. So take the time, make those connections, right? And that's kind of my journey. I got some other pictures here. I'll keep talking. This is what's important to me, as it should be to everybody. Now it keeps playing. I apologize for my slideshow etiquette here. All right, this is about me. It's important. That's my other half, Katie. That's a 150-inch whitetail. She shot a bigger deer than I've ever shot. Right? I'm going to make this go down. There we go. Family's important to me. We need to make time for family. I know in small businesses and startup businesses, guess what everyone does? All day, every day. All day, every day. All day, every day. And you know who suffers? Your family. And after 25 years in the service, I was tired of cramming a 7-day hunting trip into 2 days. I would drive from Texas 19 hours to the farm. I would hunt for 2 days. I would get in the car Sunday night after supper and I'd drive all the way back to be in formation Tuesday morning. Why? Because my family is important to me. So whatever your business is, whatever you do, make sure in the back of your mind you think about that. Because that's important. That's what makes the world go round in your life. I was on this picture here at the bottom. That's my oldest brother. My dad got remarried and I have a little brother and sister. He graduated high school. Guess where John was when he graduated high school? Laredo, Texas. Little brother graduated high school. Got on a plane, flew up, was there for the graduation, reception, got back on the plane and flew back. This is up in Alaska. My uncle lives up there, and that was a pretty awesome day of fishing, making memories. And then there's my buddy Thor, wire-haired pointing griffon. He's only 17 months, but he's an awesome hunting dog. And then there's a picture of me being weird, which most photos I am doing stuff like that, because you got to keep it light. All right. And then, before I open up to questions, here's my awesome logos. I do have some, well, disregard that. Warrant Officer Schneider on that. But I do have some coasters over there and business cards. Reach out to me. Does anyone have any questions?
Aaron Renago, on the gun cleaning side, so is that basically a B2C kind of business where you're dealing with individuals?
Yep, it's individuals. Pretty much all, I'm doing that all based on referral based
Okay.
as far as growing that piece of it. There is some time with, tearing. I've always been very mechanical, even though I have no formal training other than service. So I can look at something that comes apart like that.
And so then, if I'm a gun owner,
Mhm.
me cleaning it myself versus bringing it to you, you can do it better? You can do
Yes,
it
so I have an
faster?
ultrasonic tank. It has a water-based solvent in the front and an oil in the back. And then I'm able to heat that up to a certain temperature, and then it ultrasonically vibes, just like your wife would take her ring to clean jewelry. They have the smaller one. It's the same thing, just a big tank. What that does is it gets it down to the microscopic level. Let's say you have a shotgun and it has a ribbed barrel. A lot of times those are prone to corrosion up underneath there because the guy just puts oil on a rag, wipes it down, knife will get in there. What the tank does is it cleans under there, doesn't affect the finish, and then once I put it in the oil, it's a finer viscosity oil. It gives a good protective coating, but no lubrication as far as for any type of movement.
And am I doing that once a season?
It depends. If you're going out, like I hunt, I probably clean mine once a month, just because when I go duck hunting, it could be 50 shells or 250 shells. If you're going to take it out and go deer hunting once a year and it's a day like today, I recommend don't put it in the case when you get home. That's a common problem I found. Gentlemen get back from a hunting trip, they're tired, cold, I want to go inside, and they throw everything in the garage. They walk in the house, and 5 days later, they're like, oh, I forgot my gun, and now it has surface rust. I can help with that, but it's rusting, I can't stop it. But I also recommend that guys put in a silica-based in their safe. They make these, you can buy them at Tractor Supply or Runnings. Throw it in the safe, it pulls the moisture out, especially if it's stored in your basement. And then just set a reminder on your phone once a month to take that out, throw it in the oven for 4 hours and put it back in. A lot of guys have a lot of, there's some shotguns that cost $4,000 or $5,000. You surface rust that, there's not much I can do. I can hopefully stop it, but, so storage wise, I'd recommend once a year, depending on use. If you store them properly, you can clean them once and they'll last until you use them.
And you said mostly word of mouth, any social media?
I have a Facebook, Instagram page, and a lot of it's word of mouth. I have, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see before and afters, and you can kind of see, okay, I can't get it that clean, because it'll totally make the trigger assembly on a shotgun look brand new. Where you at home are just brushing it and can't get all that stuff out of it.
Matt Stone, Small Business Development Center. Dakota Optics, are you a retailer or are you a manufacturer?
I am a retailer of optics. I just purchased a 3D printer to start manufacturing some of my own accessories to increase my optics sales. I currently sell Athlon optics, Blackhound, and AGM as far as thermal night vision scopes, thermal binoculars, all that type of stuff. The optics industry has exploded here in the past probably 5 years with a lot more access to China and Japan where a lot of optics are manufactured. I don't have the capital to launch my own optics line because you have to go in and buy huge volume and then hope that your idea sells. There's a lot of quality stuff out there with different business models that kind of fit what I'm looking at.
I have a question. Melanie Torno with Torno Mediation Mental Health Services. Can you give us a little more insight how your military background helped you prepare to be an entrepreneur? And what are some of the bumps along the way and how did you overcome them?
My military service really helped me just time management, organization. When you're anything in helicopters, flight instructor, record keeping, I was an instructor pilot in Apaches and in the C-23 and an instrument flight examiner. I give guys instrument check rides. Well, you have to document all that. And you get checked all the time. And then on the attack helicopter side, when you're doing these huge, deep attacks, and the mission planning, you know, you may spend 2 days planning this mission, it's gonna take 4 hours. So it's breaking down. I thought, well, if I can plan all this stuff and I can manage all these things in records and I can do all these things with budgets, and I'll just try to my own business. So I just structured it to where it's a streamlined process as far as my bookkeeping and stuff as it goes now. And once my website launches, there'll be some plugins there that will help manage that as well. That's kind of how I use my military service to influence into my business. And I'm sorry on the last question.
What were some of the bumps along the way?
Bumps, you know, everyone throws in, what's the first thing people want to do when they have a business idea? Anybody? Branding, right? Hey, I'm gonna go throw X amount into branding. I'm gonna go throw X amount into marketing. I'm gonna spend, you know, all this money in logo development, and then does my idea, is it even feasible? So I kind of did that route, bought the URL, bought all this stuff to get the website up and going, and I'm still working on getting the Dakota Optics website up. And I'm still trying to figure out how to make it a calendar-based, you schedule, have your gun cleaned at the shop type of deal. That was, you know, kind of a struggle. Then it's, well, do I form an S Corp or do I form an LLC? What works best for me? What requirements do I have with those? Getting the argument, you know, I was fortunate enough, one of my buddies from high school is an attorney, and he helped me make sure everything was set up properly on both sides of that. The big hit was, for me, was, you know, going into partnership, you draw everything up, you get the SBA loan approved, you have this whole business plan, and they text you and say, I'm just not really into this, but I'll buy it from you. And I'm like, no way, man, you're fronting no money. And drive to work, a couple months later, you're like, well, that sucked. So protect you, and make sure that who you're going into business with has the same goals and dreams you do.
Marie Strain, Edward Jones, have you thought about your exit strategy?
My exit strategy, yes. I read a book called 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Anyone heard of that? You know, before I retired, we went on a beach vacation. I'm like, oh, that book looks cool. That's kind of my plan with the optics, kind of my exit strategy on that. I'm trying to set it up to where it's, unless the customer is in Rapid City, I'm not going to touch the product. So it's kind of runs on its own, does its own deal. The gun cleaning thing, exit strategy on that is, you know, when I'm tired of doing that, I'll just stop advertising and then use it for me. Or, you know, still have that. Usually takes an hour depending on the firearm to clean. If you want it done right, I'm pretty meticulous and take my time, because I would treat your firearm as it's mine. So exit strategy on that I'm still planning. You know, but the goal with optics is once it's going, I don't have to spend more than 4 hours a week making sure everything's doing what it's doing.
Melanie, Torno again. Can you tell us a little, you brought up a little bit about your volunteer and giving back to the veteran community. Can you expand and give us a little more details and tell us what's coming up with Bunker Labs and the other projects?
So who in here's, some for faces are familiar that have been to our first Bunker Brew. So Bunker Labs is a nonprofit organization that assists military, veterans, and military spouses and entrepreneurs. It's a staged process. Stage 1, 0 to 1 is Launch Lab Online. It's free for anybody. Go to bunkerlabs.org, click Launch Lab Online, register, and it's a way for you to test and vet your business idea. It's pretty much idea to invoice. That would help me in my business quite a bit, because I can spend more time in the business plan and, well, that will work and that won't work. I've been through it. I know a couple people in here have been through it. It's a quality product, but again, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. A lot of guys with military training just power click through, take the time and do it. The next stage is the bunker brews. Our next one is the 17th of December at Ascent Innovation from 5:30 to 7:30. It's a way to connect, network, and mingle, and where our goal is to inspire, equip, and connect people. Because you may bump into someone that's a commercial lender and you need assistance in commercial lending, or you're not sure how to structure everything the right way to get the lending you need. That's a good, and then we'll have guest speakers there as well, so if anyone's ever interested in being a guest speaker for that, sometimes we'll do a panel, or sometimes it's just an individual, but it's a way for everyone to get together. The third stage of that is we're still working on the programming of it here. In essence, what it is it's a veterans program that the veteran must go through Launch Lab online. Then they can apply to be in a cohort, and they'll get 6 months free workspace at Ascent Innovation with mentorship and guidance to help grow their business. And then the fourth stage is CEO Circle, that's where a bunch of CEOs that have more than 5 employees, 1.5 million in assets, and about 500,000 in revenue annually can have a forum where they can meet, have a cup of coffee or an adult beverage, and talk about problems they have. And then something new they're launching is Bunker Connect. That's just more of a networking environment on top of the bunker rooms. So that's pretty much it, Bunker Labs in a nutshell. KP?
I have a random question. Kind of staying in this vein. When you said you went into the grocery store and wanted to ask 5 people hi and see if they replied, what made you want to do that?
Well, I always say hi to people when I'm walking around. Hey, how's it going? And most people do this. Right? And my other half, Katie's always giving me a hard time with it. You're always saying hi to people. I was like, well, it might make their day. Right? That might make that person know I've said hi to them all week. And if I just say, hey, how's it going? Most of the time I get the and they just keep walking. But sometimes I strike up a conversation. And it's all about the connection. So I thought, well, let me see how many people are actually going to say hi to me today. Right? You know, because in the military, you know, suicide's a big thing. 22 vets a day commit suicide. Well, what if you walked by that vet in the grocery store and didn't say hi? And you just acknowledging him and saying hi prevented that. That's kind of how I look at it. Pay it forward, say hi to people. So it's just I do random stuff like that. Or how many people open doors for people? Right? You know, the younger generation doesn't do that. They'll just stand there. The door didn't open. Oh, here, buddy. Have a great day. And you usually get mumble as they're texting. Anyone else?
Must be the snow, you guys are quiet today.
Here I prepare to get brutally assaulted.
Good thing your military training came in hand there.
Oh, question. Cecil again, Farm Bureau. So when you're doing the process, are you actually taking the gun apart, or is it sitting in a bath?
What I'll do is I'll field strip the gun, depending on the model, down to a certain point.
Okay.
Kind of the premise on the tank is, you know, the trigger group, I don't totally tear that apart because I don't want to have to put that back together. But the tank gets in there and takes care of better than I could do if I tore every part and wiped it off. And then I just reassemble it, do a functions check. Most firearms have a certain major loop point. You know, like a pistol has 5 loop points. Shotguns have a couple, rifles have different ones, and then reassemble it that way. Everyone thinks more oil the better. Because what does oil attract? Dirt. What does oil attract? Carbon. What's the byproduct of gunpowder? Carbon buildup. So if you hit the right points when it's clean, and it's cleaned properly, you're better off. And a lot of guys they just clean the barrel, and a lot of people aren't comfortable taking something apart. Had a gentleman bring me a gun in a bag. Hey John, I know you told me not to do this. Will you put this back together? Sure, little buddy. Will you sign my liability waiver? Well, why? He's like, don't know if a spring's missing. I don't know if a firing pin's missing. And the minute I open that bag and put it on my table, guess what? It's my responsibility to give you a fully functioning operating firearm, even though a key component could be missing. Oh, okay, I'll sign it. You know, that's what usually happens. Someone gets way deeper than they're supposed to, or push one pin out that they weren't supposed to, or unleashes stuff.
So do you get people that bring their gun to you in a bag, not for asking for reassemble, but for cleaning? So they've taken it all
Yep,
apart.
they've taken it apart and I'll clean it. And they're like, well, since it's apart, will it be cheaper? And I'm like, no. I mean, I was like, sure, but then most of the time when they bring it to me a bag for cleaning, they want me to put it back together because they got in way too deep. I've had 3 people bring me guns in a bag. Luckily, all the parts were there. Luckily. Or, you know, you hear the, take something apart and you hear, I heard a spring go flying across the room. I'm like, well, yes.
It probably falls into a bag of springs.
Or, you know, goes into the air conditioning ducting. You know, that hasn't happened to me. In the service it did. My buddy was tearing, you know, well, quick story, on disassembling a firearm. An M60 machine gun is an open bolt fired weapon. You must release the bolt forward before you pull the retaining pin out of it. So I told this kid, it was my roommate, I went to basic and training with him. I'm like, hey Jason, I'll be back. I gotta go get some more stuff. Please ride that bolt forward before you disassemble that. Yeah. That's what he says. I come back, he's over in the corner of the room crying. I'm like, Jason, what did you do? I didn't do what you told me. I'm in so much trouble. And I'm like, why? And he turns and looks at me, and guess what he has on his chin? The perfect circle, impression cut of that retaining pin. Because he pulled that buttstock off and pulled that retaining pin, and the full spring caught him right in the chin.
Mhm.
So, I probably to this day, under his little goatee that he has, there's probably still that circle scar over that part of his face.
Beth Ann Dakota with Isogenics and Dakota Architecture. I think maybe the reason a lot of people are quiet is we're just mesmerized by your talk. And you just got so much stuff going on in our heads. And so I guess I don't really have a question, but I have a comment. I think the fact that you gave your wife credit, shooting the bigger whitetail than you, just was a really wonderful thing that you said.
Thanks.
And it speaks highly of the kind of man that you are. Not only have you been over in these life-threatening, killing situations, but you're also so sweet and so respectful of women. So that was one thing that was running through my mind. Another was, I was in New York the year after 9/11, and when you were talking about saying hi to people and stuff, the mental idea that most people already have about New Yorkers and how they're cold and unfriendly and looking for a fight and stuff, that was so not that way. It was like the community of New York, all those people pulled together because of what we had been through. And everyone was friendly, and everyone was helpful. It was just like something, you know, what you think. So all this stuff went through my head while you're talking. And I just thought, I bet that's why everybody else is so quiet, because you just did a marvelous job of
Thank you.
inspiring us to be thinking about all this stuff. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Preston Harry, Gold Mines. Have you considered getting into like gunsmithing or doing things like Cerakote or anything like that? Is there a need for that?
Yes and no, and here's why. We become a society that's throwaway, right? You buy a TV for $200, it needs to be fixed, it's gonna cost you $250, right? Same thing on guns. Gunsmithing is a 2 to 4 year school. You can do it online or you can go to Colorado or these other places and do it. But for me to invest that much time into gunsmithing, the return on John's investment isn't there. Because what usually happens is your great grandpa handed a gun to your dad and he handed it to you. And in 1920, that gun was worth $5. Today, that gun is worth $100 and it's broke. and you bring it to John to fix it, and it's gonna cost $180 to fix the $100 gun. So that's why gunsmithing is starting, you know, everyone's into building guns. That's where the money's at. So there's not a lot of gunsmiths to do that, plus the return on buying the parts and the shipping. You know, if I were to order a part, a 30-cent part, they're gonna charge me $10 in shipping. But then if I pass that on to you, you're gonna go, whoa, I looked online and the part was only 30 cents. Right. So now that creates another customer service dilemma for me is how do I, one, tell you my rate is $75 an hour to fix your gun, and it's a minimum of an hour per gun. And then you're gonna be like, well, that's $150. Right. So I have gunsmiths, I have one gunsmith that I work with. His turn time is awesome. He does a great service. So I've always been good at what I'm not good at, I find someone that's really good at, and then help grow his business, and then it helps grow my business. Cerakoting, everyone knows what Cerakoting is? So Cerakoting is a ceramic bake-on finish. Basically, it's guys trick their guns out, or it provides a different layer of protection. Old manufacturing processes, bluing or parkerizing, the different types of finish. Cerakote, you can make it pretty, you can paint it, flags on it, you can do all this stuff. Again, the money. One jar of Cerakote, one color, is $35.99. And that doesn't matter if you're a dealer, that's the cost of that. So you want a 3-color coat on a gun, I'm gonna tell you it's $650, and you want some crazy camo thing. Now I have to buy a vinyl cutter, I have to stencil out your gun. A couple buddy and I were looking at doing that, did a bunch of RO guns, I'm like, no. Because then I'm gonna take your gun, I'm gonna throw it in a blasting cabinet, and I'm gonna blast all that bluing off of it to make sure the finish. So the return on your time, one single coat color on a shotgun, $250, and it's probably about 3.5 hours a week. And in that $250 is your material. So there's not, unless you can mass produce it like Cerakote's. I went to the SHOT Show in February of this year. Everyone knows SHOT Show is a huge firearms industry show. They take up the Venetian 4 floors and all the event centers, and you can spend a week walking through there and never get through everything. But Cerakote designed these robotic arms to Cerakote finishes for manufacturers. A lot of companies are selling them with Cerakote. So unless you want your name stenciled on it. But my gunsmith does it, so go see Matt. Kind of where I'm at now.
Josh Bush from Fox Life. How much of an area do you cover with your business? Like people can't really ship this in this, right?
As far as firearms,
Yeah.
the gun cleaning's local. Unless I'm going out to the farm in Java, South Dakota, then guys are like, hey, clean this. Sometimes I bring 20 guns back, sometimes I don't bring any. Or, again, the shipping costs. If you wanted your firearm cleaned and you live in California, you gotta ship it to me and then I gotta ship it back to you. It's not cost effective. The optics, it's in the United States, depending on the optics, because then you get into, it's called ITAR, I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's an international trade agreement regulation that I can't ship certain optics to certain countries, especially like the thermals and night vision and all of that type of stuff that I sell. So mostly targeting on optics, all the US. To build my business, all I ask is that you spread the word. When my website launches, you guys are able to check that out. And remember to support the local guy. Because we're going to turn into a society where there isn't going to be very many local guys. And everything's going to be on your phone. And it's hard to get a gun cleaner or a scope mounted on a phone.
Not yet, anyway.
Right. So that's my big ask. And, you know, big ask personally, say hi to people. Because that may save someone's life, or that may change someone's life. Or you may meet someone you never thought you'd meet in your life.
Okay, well with that, let's give it up for John.